Yo, what is up guys? And in today's video we are going to look at how to make an NPC shop, or a shop that is controlled by an NPC. Okay, so without further ado, what we want to do is we technically want the NPC first, right? So we're going to just put an NPC here. You can call it an NPC, you can call it a dummy, but for now we're just going to use a dummy. Okay, so we're going to add the dummy in. Once the dummy is in, you can name it whatever it wants. I'm gonna name it NPC shop, right? I'm gonna call it that. So now the next thing is you want to add like something that's gonna trigger the shop. Okay, so how I'm gonna do this is I'm gonna use a part. So in order to do that, I'm gonna add a part here, and I'm gonna call this trigger, right? Because this is the trigger that we're going to use. Okay, I'm going to make it pretty small, but not too small that we won't be able to trigger it. I'm going to put it up top here. But now you also need to make sure that you keep it anchored, otherwise it's like, yeah, it's just not going to work. So you want to take the trigger and you want to put it inside of the NPC shop, and that will now be part of the actual shop, right? So the next thing is we actually now need to make the script and the GUI within this shop. So now what you want to do is you want to go into start a GUI, you want to get a screen GUI, and you want to call it shop, right? Now you can design this as to how you like, but this is just for purposes of this video, where we're going to be using it as a simple non-graphic GUI, right? We're going to add some corner rounding, and let's do the background transparency, maybe 0.5. Let's do the background color, maybe black. Yeah, that should work for me, right? Now to just get a bit more creative, we're going to add a text label, and inside of here, this text label, we're going to name it title. So you don't really need to name it anything, but for this video, I'm going to call it title. And then in here, the text is going to say NPC shop. And then also, I want to change the font. I want to have it something more like Fredoka, right? And then also bold and italic. And we're going to take the background. We're going to remove the background color. And then we're going to get the text, right? Because I want to change the text color to white. Now that we have the text color on white, notice how if you make this thing bigger, it's not going to do anything, right? So we're going to go to the text size, and we're actually going to go higher up on that. When we have that, we're going to go for a UI stroke, okay? Now in this UI stroke, you won't see it just as of yet. So now the thickness, this is where you want to play here. You want to play with the thickness. I'm going to put it something like that. Look how epic that looks. That looks nice, right? Great. Now that we have this, every UI technically needs something that can close, okay? So this is the next thing we're going to do. We're going to get a text button. We're going to name this close, okay? Also make sure all of this is inside of the frame area, right? Then we're going to pull this down, and in here we're going to add in an X. You can do it whatever, you can have it closed, whatever you want, as long as it's a button, okay? I'm going to put mine here at the top, but with my UI corner I'm going to paste it inside of it. Now that we have that UI corner, let's style it a bit. I want mine on a 15 to a 20. I know a 20 is pretty nice. There we go. So now that we have that, we want to have a text, and again we're going to pull this up so we have it nicely. And then we're going to go with a font, bold, italic, and then over here we're going to go with Fredoka again. And then I see the text size is a bit too high, right? It's too much. So we're going to have it like that, somewhat like that. So notice how the italic is like very off, right? So it doesn't look good there. So let's take it off there. Right. Now we want to go to the text color. Now, something from experience, which I like to do, is I like to have this either red, right, like that, but because this is a dark background, I'm going to go with a white text. And the background of this button, I want to go with something more on the darkish side, but not too dark. There we go. Or we could even go with red, right? Red also looks pretty good. So let's go with red actually. So now we're going to style it in here. There we go. Now we have a red closing button, and that should be our shop GUI, right? Now, if you want to go all further with this, it's pretty straight simple. This shop GUI, we have the frame, we have the button, and we have the title, right? Everything is inside of the frame. So technically, if you take the frame and you turn the visibility off, the entire GUI disappears. Why? Because this is parent of all the other children, right? So it's all of these. Now, logically what we want to do is we maybe want to have something that you can purchase and stuff like that. That will be in another video. We will actually go and create the leaderboard, the leader stats, or whatever you want to call it, add some values like cash or money or something, and then have people actually being able to purchase from this GUI itself. But the purpose of this video is how we can actually have the shop working, right? So now that we have this up and running, we want to make sure the shop GUI is not enabled, right? So you want to come to your properties section and you want to click enabled, you want to disable it, okay? So notice how now we've got two sections we're working on. We've got the NPC and we've got the shop. So what do we actually want to do? Here comes the thing, okay? You want to add a local script. Why are we going local? Because if you add a server script to this, everyone or someone who clicks this button is going to see that someone opened a GUI. And let's say your friend is on the other side of the map. If you open the shop GUI, he's also going to see it. So that's why we want to keep it on the local script. So only the person who triggers this event will see the shop and not everyone else. So how do we do this, right? So you want to come into your shop frame GUI and you want to add a local script, right? Now, you can add your local script inside of your frame, inside of your button. That's all up to you, okay? You're going to add two local scripts. So one's going to be in the top and the other one's going to be inside of your frame, inside of the close button, right? So we're going to call this script, let's rename it close script. We want to use this script to close it. So let's start there, okay? So we're going to say script dot parent dot mouse button one down connect function. I'm just going to leave it like that. Okay, so what is this doing? If someone clicks this button, it's actually going to fire a function. So what does this function need to do? Technically, it needs to close the GUI, right? So we're going to say script dot parent. So look, script dot parent dot parent dot parent again. Okay, so notice how it's already auto completing for us. Dot parent dot enabled equals false, right? So technically this is saying the GUI is false, right? It's not enabled. So here we can say print, let's do this, this GUI has been closed. Let's just do it like that, okay? So now we can actually test it. If we keep this enabled now and we press play, notice what will happen. If I click this, let me just clear my terminal here, my output. If I click it, this GUI has been closed, right? And now the GUI is no longer there. That's because of the script, right? So let's close this. Now let's go further. Now we want it to open, okay? So now we can close the frame and the actual button. Now we're going to go to here. So on the shop piece, let's disable that. Okay, now we need to reference this. Okay, so inside of here, you want to look for the block you called trigger. Inside of this trigger, you need to decide, do you want to click detector or a proximity prompt? I like a proximity prompt. It gives like a style to your game. Okay, so I'm going to go with the proximity prompt. And in here, I'm going to call this open NPC shop, right? I'm going to call it that. So in here, in our local script, we're gonna make a little bit of variables, right? So we're gonna say local local button equals game dot workspace dash wait for child, a colon wait for child. You want to make sure you wait for child, because if the game doesn't find or if the game loads in too quickly and it can't find this humanoid, it's gonna crash, right? It won't work. So that's what we want to do. We want to go for NPC shop, then we want to say find first child, and in here we want to go trigger dot yeah, just like that, trigger, right? So now that we have this, we want to say button dot open NPC shop triggered connect function. And we're going to have it like this, okay? So technically we've referenced the button, and now we also referenced what we want the button to do. So if this button is clicked, this is how we're going to run it, okay? Then we're going to say script.parent script.parent.enabled equals true, right? And then let's do our simple thing. Print GUI is now open. Okay. Now comes the interesting part. We can also go more detailed, right? So in here, we're gonna go with something very simple and like it's very basic. So we're gonna say button dot hold duration. It's not on this one. Button dot parent button dot open NPC, there we go, hold duration equals 0.5. I'm going to put mine like that, so it takes 0.5 to actually open it. And then the max duration, just press tab on that, action tab, action text, right, is going to be this. So this is technically going to say it's going to open the shop on the action text, right? And it's going to say the max activation distance is 10, and the hold duration that you should be holding in order to activate is 0.5 seconds. So let's actually test how this works. Let's test it quickly, right? Let's clean it. So here's our NPC shop. Notice how when we leave, it doesn't constantly show. It only shows until there, and it says open shop. So now if we click it, there you have your shop, right? This is so cool. Now if we click close, our shop is closed, right? And it will work non-stop, because now you've basically built a system. So the next video we'll actually cover now building further into the shop, how to add tools into it, or maybe some little objects, and you know, building a leader stats over here, and then you can actually go further and make something with this inside of your game. Anyways guys, I hope you liked the video. If you did, leave a thumbs up. If you've got any questions, drop it down in the comment, and I'll make sure to get back to you on it. All goods. Bye bye.